Now, let me tell you why stonewalling hurts our partner so badly. Because it should be our goal to be a safe place for our partner to bring up a hurt or a complaint or a desire. We should not be discouraging our partners from being honest about their feelings just because they make us uncomfortable. They are not wrong for wanting someone to be vulnerable with about their inner world or hurts or ways that they feel loved the most. They're not wrong for wanting their experience or perspective validated. Those are basic needs for closeness and connection, and they aren't wrong for having them. And let's remember, validation doesn't mean agreeing with all of their facts or details. It simply means that their feelings matter to you. You don't have to agree with them or the actions to be able to say, what you're going through matters to me. Validation requires us to be curious instead of confrontational. We don't have to agree with their feelings to have a desire to understand what led them to feeling disrespected or hurt or scared. We can seek to understand their pain even if we don't have all the facts yet. That's called valuing someone's experience. It's called respecting them, honoring them. And if you ever want them to listen to your side of the street as well, the first and best way we do that is by showing them that we value theirs. And when you shut down, it makes them feel completely abandoned and unheard and unloved. That's not your intent, but that's what's happening. They feel like they're being abandoned by someone they love. To them, it feels like you're communicating, you're not worth being heard. You're not valuable enough to try to understand. You're not important enough to have my attention. Once again, that might not be your intent, but that's what's happening.
10 weird things narcissists do during arguments that will make you feel like you're losing your mind. My name is Nina Batista. I'm a licensed clinician, and I specialize in complex relationships and narcissistic abuse. 1, you bring up something they did today, and suddenly they're talking about something you did 3 years ago. 2, you say they lied, and they immediately say you're the liar. That's called projection. 3, you start the argument about one issue, and 5 minutes later, you're defending your entire personality. 4, they say something cruel, and then you react. They say, wow, you're really sensitive. 5, you confront them about something they did, and somehow by the end of the conversation, they're the victim. That's classic Darvo. 6, they suddenly act like they have no idea what you're talking about, even when it literally just happened. That's strategic confusion. 7, they stay eerily calm while you get emotional. After they've been provoking you the entire time, then they say, see, you're the unstable one. Darvo. 8, they walk away mid-argument, not because they need space, but because leaving you confused gives them control. 9, they mock you when you're upset. Eye rolls, smirks, laughing. It's meant to make you feel small. And 10, you start the conversation because they hurt you, but somehow by the end of it, you're the one apologizing. I spent years trying to prove I was worthy of someone who was never trying to deserve me. I thought if I could just become more understanding, less emotional, more attractive, more patient, less needy, essentially easier to love, maybe they'd stop hurting me. Maybe they'd finally choose me. Maybe I'd finally be enough. But I was fighting for a relationship that only survived because one person kept sacrificing themselves. Me. I spent years trying to become someone they couldn't leave, while they never once tried to become someone safe to stay with.
10 ways narcissists train you to stop talking about what they did to you and make you think staying silent was your decision. 1, they challenge every detail. The date, the exact words, your facial expression. Anything that lets them avoid the actual harm. 2, they police your tone. Suddenly, how you said it matters more than what they did. 3, they attack your character. You bring up one behavior and leave defending whether you're selfish, unstable, controlling, or abusive. 4, they punish you for speaking. They withdraw affection, ignore you, threaten to leave, or make the rest of your day miserable. Eventually, your body learns that honesty comes with consequences. 5, they bring up something you did months ago. Now their betrayal and the time you raised your voice are treated as equally harmful. 6, they demand impossible evidence. Screenshots aren't enough. Your memory isn't enough. Even when you have proof, there's always another explanation. 8, they recruit other people. They tell a carefully edited version of the story, so speaking up risks making you look like the unstable one. 9, they give you temporary peace when you drop it. The second you stop asking questions, the affection returns. Your silence gets rewarded. 10, they call your silence healing. They say you're finally learning to let things go, but you didn't let it go because it stopped hurting. You stopped bringing it up because every attempt to address it created a second injury. Eventually, they didn't have to tell you to stay quiet. You started saying, It's not worth the argument. Maybe I'm overreacting. I'll just deal with it myself. And that's how coercive control can become almost invisible. They make speaking so painful that silence feels like a decision you made freely. But it wasn't peace. It was conditioning.
Why narcissists argue semantics. And my name's Nina Batista. I'm a licensed clinician and I specialize in narcissistic abuse. Have you ever tried to talk to them about something real and somehow you end up defending one word you used? Like you'll say, that hurt me. And they say, I didn't hurt you. Or you say, you were flirting. And they say, define flirting. And now you're stuck explaining, clarifying, backtracking, defending vocabulary. And suddenly the original issue, gone. That's not communication. That's semantic dismantling. Narcissistic personalities will tear apart individual words because it shifts the power dynamic. If they can get you debating definitions, they don't have to address impact. It's a derailment tactic. It keeps you cognitively overloaded. And when your brain is overloaded, you get disoriented. When you get disoriented, you start doubting yourself. And when you start doubting yourself, they regain control. You came in saying, this hurt me. You leave saying, okay, maybe I shouldn't have used the word always. Now you're apologizing for tone while your original concern never got resolved. That's how reality erosion happens. Not in dramatic explosions, but in microscopic shifts. Word by word, definition by definition, until you're exhausted. Healthy people clarify for understanding. Narcissistic people clarify to invalidate. One seeks resolution, the other seeks dominance. If someone consistently focuses on semantics instead of impact, they're not confused. They're avoiding accountability. And if you've ever left an argument thinking, why do I feel like I just lost a debate instead of solved a problem? Well, that's why. Or they accused you of exactly what they were doing. Cheating, lying, being selfish, being manipulative, that's called projection. If you're busy defending yourself, you're not looking at their behavior. Remember, accusations from a narcissist are confessions. 6, they'd say, I never said that. That never happened. You're remembering it wrong. That's gaslighting, teaching you to distrust your own memories so you become more likely to trust theirs. 7, there was always someone you were competing with. An ex, a coworker, a friend, a family member, someone on social media. That's triangulation. Keeping you insecure keeps you focused on earning their validation instead of questioning why you have to compete for it in the first place.
And you have to almost play their game better than them. And I know it shouldn't even be a game, but the entire point is they have a certain way that they're going to approach this whole thing, and they're going to be annoying, right? Because they're going to be out doing things you don't want them to do, seeing people, that kind of thing. But avoidance don't mind putting you in that gray area. They'll just go like this to you. Okay? They don't care about doing that. So that's why I always tell you guys, nothing with avoidance is ever like really certain. Okay. So always understand the power that no contact has and letting them wonder about you. Now, always remember though, they want you to chase them. They want you to be thinking about them because they always want that option. I know that you guys don't want to be options. That's okay.
Realize before even going into conflict with your dismissive avoidant partner or any partner is that conflict should be a tool to bring you closer together. When you get done resolving a conflict, you should feel a better sense of safety, security, intimacy, and feel like the relationship is solid and more stronger, that you've taken a problem and you've tackled it as a team together. So whenever we have conflict, we need to understand that the goal is to break down any walls or boundaries that are between us and our partner. So any disconnect that is there, that's the goal of conflict. If your goal of conflict is to go and create disconnect, or you're doing it in a way that creates disconnect, you're not doing conflict correctly. So let me give you an example. Let's say that I'm upset with my dismissive avoidant partner because they are always spending time with their hobbies, they're working too much, or they're spending time with their friends, and I feel deprioritized. This is a common theme with dismissive avoidance. So as I'm dealing with this, if I decide to avoid conflict and keep the peace, then resentment is growing for me around these things, feeling like I'm under prioritized, I'm unappreciated, there's not enough space made for me. There's feelings that are going on for me. And internally, even if things look okay externally, internally, there is a disconnect between me and my partner. So the goal for me when I bring up conflict with my partner should be to break that boundary down, close that gap so that we are reconnected. So if I go at my dismissive avoidant in the wrong way, I'm going to create more disconnect And in addition, I'm going to send them into a trauma response where there's going to be even greater disconnect. So it's
This isn't their fight. And we're pushing them away because we're making them the enemy of our past. That's why you hear constructive feedback as an attack on your character. You hear complaints as criticisms. We will hear our partner calling us a failure when that's not what they said at all. What they said was, I can't feel close to you when you do X, or when you do Y, it hurts me. And those are massively different. So let's stop making assumptions and creating false narratives that we've never actually expressed or verified. I'll be the first one to say that if your partner who starts a conflict with disrespect and criticism and name calling and contempt, and then you end up stonewalling them, you're both wrong. Our words matter. Our tone matters. We should never be demeaning our partner, belittling our partner. That's not okay on either side. And if they turn this discussion into a toxic direction, then we have to be mature enough to set healthy boundaries. What that would look like is saying, I'm not going to continue in future conflicts if there's any name calling or invalidating my feelings or stonewalling. It's hurtful behavior, and if it happens again, I will take a break from the conflict regardless of how upset that makes you, and we can try again in 30 minutes if we're both ready. Remember, we can have empathy for our partner's past. We can have compassion for their traumas and triggers. We can try to understand why they are either shutting down or escalating a conflict, and we have to hold them accountable to destructive behaviors that hurt us and the relationship. I think we have an obligation to do both if we love them.
And then what you're going to want to do, and this I don't think is part of nonviolent communication, this is just I think what's going to be helpful for the avoidant person, is ask them what their experience of this is. So I feel lonely, I feel like I need connection, and then I tend to reach out to you. How is it for you? What's going on for you in those moments? And now you're giving them the freedom to express their point of view in a way that is not asking them to erase their point of view, right? So if you're saying you don't love me or else you would text me back more quickly, you're erasing their point of view. If you say, here's what's going on my side of the fence, now I'm curious about what's going on your side of the fence. So asking them what they think and what their perspective is going to make them feel seen and like you are curious about their experience rather than trying to erase it. So what we're working towards here in all of these steps is inviting the person with the avoidant attachment style to collaborate on a solution rather than trying to dictate the solution to them, right? You might in your mind have a really clear idea of what's going to make this problem go away, but you might not be taking into account in your mind when you're creating that solution whether or not it's realistic for them and whether or not they're going to be willing to implement that, or whether it's going to cause a lot of resentment if they implement it. Because a relationship where instructions are followed but resentment builds is not a healthy relationship. A relationship where both people feel like they're finding a solution together means that that solution is going to be one that both people are actually going to be happy to follow up on. So what you want to make sure you're doing here is creating a truly open floor for collaboration where you can both talk about your own individual perspectives in a differentiated way. So where you clearly understand my emotions are my emotions, your emotions are your emotions. How can we work together to make sure that we're having less conflict or less issues? And that's a solution that's truly going to work because it's holistic, right? It's not erasing anybody's experiences or anybody's perspectives. Open-ended questions are always going to go over about 1,000,000 times better with someone who has an avoidant attachment style than kind of forced choices or than demanding that they do something is going to go over. Because with open-ended questions, you're acknowledging that their experience of reality is different than yours, which is something they are hyper aware of at all times, and you're giving them the opportunity to find a solution that is truly authentic to them.